Welcome to Sailing Saoirse. I'm Tegan. My parents sold our house, sold their business, and bought a 38-foot island spirit catamaran with the goal to travel the world. Only problem is, it needed a complete refit. After 3 years, we are finally ready to set sail. This is Corbin, my husband, Karen, my mum, Denver, my brother, and Robin, my dad. Together we make up Sailing Saoirse. Welcome back to Sailing Saoirse. We are currently in Corbin, Brazil. A little bit down the road from the marina we have Jakari Park, which is a little market district that has lots of touristy shops, food and entertainment. At Marina Jakari village, they have an outside wall that they allow yachts to leave their logos on, and it was our first time ever leaving a little bit of Saoirse anywhere.
Between St. Helena and Fernando, we lost one of our mppt controllers. So for anybody who doesn't know what an mppt controller is, it's a charge controller for your solar system, and what it does is it regulates the voltage coming from your solar array to your batteries. So it makes sure that the power is being pumped into the batteries at the right rate. If it went in too fast, it would just fry your batteries. So it is very, very important. You cannot run a solar panel, a solar array without one of these in between. We have two solar arrays and two mppt controllers. And we lost the one between St. Helena and Fernando. It was a bit of a panic situation, but we still had the other one, so we knew we were getting some power in. Did a lot of research through our little books and everything, the manuals, and looked through everything. What we had noticed prior to it, what happened was we just woke up one morning. It had been working perfectly fine the whole trip. Woke up one morning and we noticed that our needles were down on the one solar array. So we looked at it and it was just dead. There's normally lights that come on across the bottom here when it's operating, just total dead. So we got our book out and had a read couldn't really find anything other than the fact that it says that there is a fuse inside here, and it can only be, if that fuse goes, has to be taken back to the dealership. Okay, so desperate times call for desperate measures. Rowan was helming, Corbin was fishing, and Tegan and I decided we needed to try and get this up and running again. So we looked at the book, and it said that there's a fuse inside here that needs to be, if the fuse goes, it needs to be taken back to the manufacturers. Now what we had done is we had bought generics of Victron. You'll see it looks very much like Victron, but it was a generic. First and only time we'll ever do that. So in the book it said that there's a fuse and it needs to go back to the manufacturers. It's a South African make, so we knew it was no ways it was going back to the manufacturers. So what we started off doing first was got our tools out and we started changing cables. So we took the cables off that linked the solar array to we've got PV and batteries, so we changed our battery connection cables, we changed the cables that were going in from the solar panels, tried everything. We just thought we'd troubleshoot and change everything. Between the two of us, we got that all done and nothing changed at all. At one stage, we got a little flash of lights and we got all excited, but that was very short-lived. So back to the fuse inside. It said that it had to go back to the manufacturers to be looked at, but we figured we're nowhere near South Africa. This thing is never getting back to the manufacturers. So we thought we'd open it up ourselves. Now, in the book it says it can only be opened by the manufacturers, but we knew better. Well, this is what's left of our mppt controller. Good one, bad one. Yeah, we were determined. We were going to try to find the fuse inside here to see whether we could change it, and we knew we had nothing to lose. This thing was not going to get repaired anywhere along the line. We thought we were going to risk it. Anyway, as you can see, it is such a solidly built unit, and it's obviously built for the end user, to never be able to open it. It's just an absolute solid thing. So that was a failure. But then, to top it all off, when we got to Carbondale, we were running the engines almost every night for a little while, because we were only putting in half the power that we needed. Up until then, we had just been really the whole time we were sailing, we were rationing. We were being really careful about how much usage we were using, just to try. We didn't want to get our batteries too low, because that damages the batteries. So we had only been here a few days, and we were in the midst of dealing with the banking saga. It was an absolute nightmare. We were really on the brink of falling apart. It was just a nightmare week for 10 days, and our second controller went. So this is the second one that we didn't get to pulling apart. We just gave up on that, but we couldn't believe it when exactly the same thing happened. Woke up in the morning, controller wasn't working. So now we were totally out of solar system. We were also in the process of trying to find a replacement for the first one that went. So for the next week or 10 days, maybe even longer, we had to run our engines every single night just to top our batteries up all the time. And that just uses fuel. It just goes against everything that we are trying to save and not, waste money on stuff like that. So it was a bit of a nightmare. As far as ordering the MPPTs went, we were quite limited. We had to do it online. There is an online shopping app here called Mercado Libre. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But we could find just about anything we needed there. Initially we couldn't find a decent MPPT. All we could find was Victron, and then the other end of the scale was really, really cheap Chinese brands. And we didn't want to go cheap. We'd gone relatively cheap with these, and we weren't going to do that again. But sadly, the Victron, the only one we could find, we ran on 150, and the only one we could find was 150.75, and that was 24,000 Rand when we converted it from Brazilian reals to South African rands. And what we were looking for, what we needed in South Africa, would have set us back about 7,000 Rand. We just couldn't see our way clear of paying 24,000, and we needed two. So we put it out on the Facebook pages, the sailing pages. We were really quite desperate. And another sailor who had been in Brazil a couple of years prior with exactly the same problem and not being able to afford the Victron said to us, look up Ep-Eva. He had bought it here in Brazil and was very happy with it. So we ordered one put it into the boat, and we're very pleased with how it worked. So when we knew that the one was working, we ordered in the other. And that wasn't too bad. That came in at about 4,000 Rand, I think. 5,000 Rand, somewhere in that region. So it was doable. And when we got the first one, we could see it was a nice sturdy make. It wasn't flimsy or anything like that. Another thing we've done when we fitted them was put in a lot of computer fans into the enclosure where the controllers are. We noticed that these controllers were getting very hot. So I don't know if that's a problem specifically for this particular brand. I know that they have to be in well ventilated areas, which we did have. But now we've got our new controllers in there, and we've got about 5 computer fans so that we know that they're staying cool. And it's even got a little temperature setting indicator on it, and we can see, you can monitor it all the time. We've actually been really happy, touch wood, with these Evers, the detail readouts that they give you and how well it's working. It's been very good. We arrived at the club this morning and our new mppt charge controller has arrived. We're so excited now to see that it actually works.
So it's unboxed.
We got it.
It's a lot bigger than our other ones.
Yeah, other ones are only about that big. So we're going to take some reconfiguring to fit it in, especially if we buy a second one, now that our other one is also gone. But it looks okay quality from the outside. Let's hope it works well. So it's an exciting day in Saoirse today. Robin got this connected. That's our second solar controller last night. So this morning when the sun came up, we've all been watching eagerly at what's going on. It's another cloudy day, but we've suddenly had a burst of sunshine. And so excited to say we have 50. Just now it was 56 amps going in. The clouds come in and out all the time. But how amazing it is to see two sets of panels working and power going in. Oh, life can return to normal finally.
Corbin went out on the paddleboard 2 hours ago and he didn't tell us where he was going, and he's been missing for a little while. We won't start stressing just yet. I can't tell if that's him down there getting in, but it's been probably an hour and a half of this rain, so he must be absolutely drenched. So, how was your paddle?
It was very nice, rejuvenating. So when we were on passage on the way here from Fernando de Noronha, we were sucking air through this, what do you call these things again?
Fuel water separator.
Fuel water separators, there we go. So this one was sucking air, and we possibly, in the whole panic of trying to figure out what had happened, might have over tightened it a bit and cracked it finally. But it still got us here, which was quite a good thing. And then the other day we cleaned out the fuel tanks, and upon bleeding it again, possibly could have over tightened it again, and the whole thing cracked. So we've made like a temporary fix. We're not sure if it's going to work, but temporary fix is better than nothing at all. So we just filled it, well, Denver filled it with some resin and a bit of chop strand. There, and it looks a bit rough inside here, but it doesn't really matter because that's where the whole business end of the thing is. And we're going to give it a try and see if it works. If it does work, now you know that you can fix it. So it's just a temporary fix, obviously. I mean, this is not really something you want to keep going for hours on end, but yeah, catamarans obviously like using both engines, and we need to use the other engine. Denver was doing a bit of an inspection here in the crash lockers because we noticed that the bow of the boat is really down in the water, and upon inspecting the crash lockers are actually full right up to the lid, which is extremely bad. Is it pumping? Nope. There you go. It's extremely bad. So what we're actually doing now is we've got a little 12-volt pump and we're trying to pump water out. We're going to drain it completely and then we're going to see if it...
problem. Flowing in under the ring.
Under the ring? Okay, so it looks like we might have found the problem.
We have to pull all the diving stuff out.
Just reducing this stuff out of there.
So it's flowing in underneath the black ring. As soon as we pump, the water drops, the water that pumps and scoots out into this compartment, just flows back under it.
As the ring not sealed.
Well, there's Seeker on it, so
Yeah, but you see...
we might as well bring a screwdriver and start taking this ring off.
Okay, so let's see now. That's how full the crash locker is. And to show how the water's going, we thought the seal, we did this ourselves, and the scary part is we used a ton of Seeker. I'll just point out, I don't know if you'll see in the video where the water's... So water is obviously getting into this crash locker on the trip. Because we've had following seas. Where's that little overflow hole here somewhere?
Yeah.
So we do have an overflow there. But with the following seas, we've probably even been getting water coming up inside there. Oh, that is a lot of water.
Oh, it's filled right up over this.
Yeah.
So when we left, where were we leaving? Fernando. We seemed to strip our prop, so
You smell that burnt smoke?
the boys are
Grease, yeah.
currently changing the prop. Luckily we had a spare one, but it just seems nothing goes right at the moment, and that's obviously very difficult. Let's look at the colour of the water. So boys have to be very careful about dropping anything and being able to see what they're doing. This is a warning to sailors, specifically from South Africa. We don't know how other banking works all over the world, but before we left South Africa, my mom went into the bank and told them that we were going to be traveling and made sure that they knew of that. And they said that was going to be okay, the apps should work and the online banking should work. So we thought, okay, cool, that was all sorted and it would be simple. When we got to Fernando, my mom tried to access her online app. Well, their money is in an investment account, and as you need the funds, you release the funds you need. Now over the crossing, we knew we wouldn't be needing a lot of money in that account, so we only released a little bit that we thought we would need in there. So in Fernando, when we tried to access the account, my mom locked herself out of the app because the app realized we were in a foreign country, Brazil, Fernando being a Brazil territory, and we thought, okay, well, let's leave it. We're in Fernando for one day. We'll sort it out when we get to Corbin, where we could sit on Wi-Fi and really sort through it. We thought it would be a simple fix. Little to our knowledge, we got to Corbin and we only had a certain amount of money in that account that was available to us. But with the banking, we hadn't activated our Vodacom international roaming before leaving South Africa. We didn't think that would be a problem because you have the app that allowed you to activate it whenever you could access the app. Now, the Vodacom app locked us out of anything to do with our SIM cards. So with us now having to reload the app and try get OTP numbers, which is the one-time PIN numbers, we needed our international roaming on to be able to reset the passwords on our banking. Well, that was a dilemma in itself, with us not being able to call out of Brazil to Vodacom to ask them to access it. We had our friend Tunisia on Vodacom's case 24/7, asking them what can be done about activating your international roaming. And they said, nope, sorry, you cannot activate it unless you activate it before leaving South Africa. So we thought, now we are doomed. We went and got Brazilian SIM cards and thought, okay, we'll change our banking to the Brazilian number, and that turned into having to register at the police station and get affidavits and having these forms filled in and that form filled in, and it was really complicated. Then we realized that we had to post it to South Africa, which was going to cost 3,000 Rand on its own. And they said if the documents weren't correct, or if you had missed one little specification, it would be thrown out and we'd have to post all the documents all over again. Now, with Brazil being a Portuguese country, it's really we found it really difficult speaking English, and obviously we hadn't brushed up on Portuguese before leaving. So we knew that the probability of us having a miscommunication in getting the documents from the police, there was a high possibility of those documents being wrong. After 10 days, well, came to the 9th day, we were communicating with the bank, but it took a long time. We were emailing the SOS email addresses, to no response. Now, we don't understand why you have an SOS email for emergency situations that it takes people 4 to 5 days to reply to your email. Now, we're sitting in a foreign country with no access to funds, needing to buy mppt controllers that cost way more than we ever expected. And we've got no access to funds. It was the most frustrating thing we've experienced, and it really just put a damper on the fact that we had finally crossed the Atlantic Ocean, got into our destination, and we spent every day of the week of those 10 days trying to contact the bank. We went through 83 different people on the bank and the banking website. That included emails and chat rooms with the bank. We finally got our international roaming app, which happened by a complete coincidence. I tried to log into the app on the 9th day, and suddenly the app just started working again. So with being on the app, you could activate your international roaming, which they told us would be impossible to do. We're able to access, get our one-time pins only to reset all the passwords and everything else that we needed to do, and have our bank lock us out again. As soon as we got in, we had like one split second of being able to see the funds and everything you need to see in your app, and it just went and locked us out and gave us an error code. So we got back onto the emails and the chat rooms, and they said that it was a fraud problem, because now we obviously in a different country, which we had notified them about. They told us that now we had to be sent to the fraud department. Anyway, long story short, we harassed these people. It was resolved after 10 days. It was resolved in about 15 minutes, and we were able to access our accounts again. So yeah, just a cautionary tale. Activate your international roaming. We've had 3 South Africans come through here and have this exact same problem, that they thought they could activate their roaming when they were here, or didn't even think about it until they got here, and have had the same banking problems. They can't contact their bank, they can't email their bank. So activate before leaving. Also, try maybe get a number of someone you can contact or an email to a direct person in your bank that you can email with your problems, because we couldn't find any email addresses that we had fast responses to. It took 3 to 5 days for people to respond to one email. Then they didn't respond to your email properly, so you had to wait for their response another 3 days. So all in all, maybe a personal banker and international roaming is your best friend when it comes to being over here and needing to access your bank if anything goes wrong.
At the yacht club, we have little marmoset monkeys that often come through. They are very cute and look like little teddy bears, but we have heard that they bite quite a bit.
Another thing we have found with the people of Brazil is that they are super helpful. We've had Nicholas, the owner of the club, who has been a font of information from everything from where the trains go, obviously, to everything that you need to find and buy. One of his staff members, Attilio, who has helped us with all our online orders. In Brazil, you can't order anything online without a tax number, so you have to be a Brazilian citizen pretty much. And when he saw that we were having a problem, he offered, and he has done so many orders for us. I feel quite bad constantly going back to ask him to do more, but he always does it with a smile on his face. On the train the other day, Denver and I met a lady by the name of Talita, who heard us speaking English and got involved in our conversation, and it turned out she knew a mechanic and a fiberglassing guy, so within minutes we had their phone numbers. And then there is Nayara and her husband. Apologies, Nayara, I'm terrible with names and I cannot remember your husband's name, but thank you to the two of you who have taken us in a van that you borrowed from a friend to take all our fuel containers up to the fuel station to fill up, so we now have a fully fueled boat. Thank you to the two of you. They had found us on Instagram. They have a boat here in the river right next to ours, and contacted me on Instagram out of the blue just to say, we're here, if you need help or advice on anything, let us know. So they've also been awesome. Thank you to them.
He's picking out his wedding ring. Coconut shell wedding ring.
One's too big. One's too brown. So when you're living on the island, you got to make do. Since I lost the last one, it's a coconut ring from now on.